Today, we're diving into a really critical but often invisible health crisis, one that starts way back in childhood. We're going to look at what's really causing it and explore a preventative approach that's being championed by the International Institute for Orthopostural Education, or IIOPE for short. By the end of this, I think you'll have a really clear picture of their mission and why it is so incredibly important for the health of our future generations.
It all starts with a sentence that, I know, sounds pretty extreme, but it's shockingly accurate. The way we breathe is killing us. Now, this isn't just some dramatic headline. It's the quiet reality of a huge problem that starts silently, often when we're kids, and can snowball into serious chronic diseases later on. So let's unpack what that really means.
You see, we're in the middle of a massive health crisis. But the most staggering part, the vast majority of it is completely preventable. It's a crisis that, frankly, we are creating ourselves. Okay, get a load of this statistic, 75 to 90%. That's the estimated share of deaths in developed nations that come from non-communicable diseases. Now, these aren't your typical infectious diseases. We're talking about chronic conditions, things like heart disease, diabetes that build up over time. And they're heavily influenced by our lifestyle, how we eat, how we move, how we handle stress, and, you guessed it, how we breathe. So how in the world did we get here? Well, there's been this fundamental shift in how we approach health. We've moved away from being a true health system, one that's focused on finding the root cause of a problem, to what's really more of a disease management business. This model is great at throwing treatments at symptoms, but it often completely misses the foundational issues that are causing the symptoms to begin with. To really get this difference between symptoms and causes, we've got to look below the surface. And there's a perfect analogy to help us do just that. You know the story of the Titanic, right? What sank that ship wasn't the little bit of ice they could see on the surface. It was the enormous hidden mass of ice below the waterline. And human health, believe it or not, works exactly the same way. The things we see and treat, those are just the symptoms, the visible tip of the iceberg. The real problem, the real danger, is hidden from view. So that visible 10% includes a lot of things we're all familiar with. Asthma, TMJ, sleep apnea, even things like bedwetting in kids. Our medical system usually treats each of these as a totally separate problem, right? Different doctors, different pills. But what if they're not separate diseases at all? What if they're all just cracks showing up from the same shaky foundation? Because this is the hidden 90%. This is the true cause. Underneath all those seemingly unrelated conditions are just a few really powerful common root problems. Breathing dysfunction, poor posture, nutritional imbalance, chronic stress. These are the real issues. And when we ignore them, we're basically just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. So if our current approach of just chasing that 10% isn't working, what's the alternative? Well, this brings us to the method that IIOPE champions, an approach that focuses entirely on fixing that hidden 90%. It's called orthopostural education. I know, it sounds a little complicated, but the idea behind it is incredibly simple. Ortho is just the Greek word for straight. This isn't about forcing your body into some stiff, perfect position. No, it's about restoring its natural, intended balance and alignment. It's about letting the body work the way it was designed to. Now check out this number. It perfectly explains why we need a foundational approach. The human body has 11 major systems, and the number of possible ways things can go wrong between them is nearly 40 million. It's just a mind-boggling level of complexity to try and tackle one symptom at a time. I mean, with that kind of complexity, trying to chase down every little symptom is a game you can never win. It's impossible. The only logical strategy is to stop playing whack-a-mole with symptoms and instead just restore the body's foundational design. Because when you fix the foundation, the body has this incredible ability to start fixing itself. And that brings us to what IIOPE actually does. How do they turn this philosophy into real, concrete programs that can create a lasting impact? Well, it's all about focusing on health for future generations. The mission is so clear and so powerful: to prevent disease before it even has a chance to start. And the most powerful place to do that is in early childhood. It's about teaching the people who care for kids how to spot the earliest, subtlest signs of dysfunction. So how does charitable support actually turn into action? It goes into creating simple, science-based educational programs for the people who are on the front lines every single day. Parents-to-be, current parents, kindergarten teachers, nurses, you name it.
When you empower this group, you create this incredible protective circle around a child's development.
So let's wrap all this up with one final metaphor. It perfectly captures the choice that we're facing and the real power of IOPE's mission.
I want you to imagine our healthcare system is a giant dam, and the water pouring into that dam from all these different rivers represents the millions of people developing these chronic, preventable diseases year after year. The dam is already overflowing. The system just can't keep up.
We basically have two strategies here. The current approach is to desperately try to open more and more sluice gates. That means more drugs, more surgeries, more incredibly expensive treatments. It's a never-ending, unsustainable race. The other option, the logical one, is to go upstream and simply reduce the flow of water into the dam in the first place.
And that's exactly what supporting IOB is. Its focus on early childhood education and prevention is the single most effective way to tackle this crisis right at its source. It is how we reduce the flow.
So this all leaves us with one very simple question. Instead of endlessly building a bigger, more expensive dam to try and manage a crisis that's already overflowing, does it not make infinitely more sense to just reduce the flow of water?